Mark, I don't know if you know this, but if you finish roughly around where you are at the moment, it will be Lincoln's second best sort of league position finish at the end of the campaign for something like 40 years. And yet I still talk to people who say, well, I want to see more attacking football as well. Do you get that balance? It's that attacking defensive balance, isn't it?
Yeah, look, the great thing about football is it's all about opinions, and whenever you get something you always want more, and I'm fine with that. It's about maximising what you have and hiding some of the deficiencies that you have as well, and finding a balance. So I do honestly believe if we had been really expansive this year and really gone at teams and played 4-3-3, I think we would have ended up in a really bad relegation fight. So I'm glad I recognised that early. I think from the time we changed that, we lost to Cambridge away in the league. I think it was really early in the season, by the way. It was at a time where if you won, you went up 7-8 places. I think we were 5th from bottom. So we had a tough run of games coming up. We changed it, and I think it served us really well. Do I want to do that next year? No, not particularly.
I was going to say, it's a case of evolving, isn't it? Do you feel like you've sort of got the base now and you know where you want to go?
Yeah, 100%. Without being patronising and stating the obvious, you don't. When you're building a house, you don't make the roof first. So I think what we've done is stabilise things, given ourselves a foundation. I wasn't here last year, so I wasn't involved in that. It's not a criticism or anything, but I would like to think for the whole of this season we've been in a position where we've been looking up. I'm not saying we've been in the top 10 all year, because we haven't, but we haven't had a season where we've been looking over our shoulders, and that's been a positive. So I think we've given ourselves a really good platform to start with. To only lose one game at home, to have one of the fewest defeats, to have an extremely attractive record in terms of conceding goals. I think we've set ourselves up, given ourselves a platform and a structure and a foundation to build on something really positive.
And Dylan, we've been talking to him today. He's getting close. We'll talk about that side of it in a second, but is he in a way one of those cogs in when you're looking forward and talking about where you want to go with the direction? He's very much part of that, to add some sort of attacking threat to the team.
Yes, look, he's been really impressive in training. The negative is he's been out injured for some time, and we've not been able to get him a game to play him in that. He's chomping at the bit. I was chatting to him on the pitch today. He's actually really stood out. We just have to be careful and patient. He's come in as a young project, so I'll make that clear before anybody starts thinking he's a first 11 player. But if that happens sooner rather than later and he jumps the gun on other people, then I always say to the lads, it doesn't bother me who plays. It's not nice leaving people out, but whoever, we don't have favourites about picking people that fit into the right system, complement the team, complement the shape, complement the style. Who they are doesn't actually matter to me. But Dylan's a good kid, and he's definitely an outstanding talent and somebody who I see a bright future in.
And obviously you have a similar background, and I remember we talked to you right at the start of the season. You were talking about how you broke through at Millwall, and one person's misfortune was your
another man's game.
Exactly, and that might be the same for him. If he's say on the bench tomorrow and something happens in the game and it gives him an opportunity. So for a player like that, as you said, a project player, it's about when he gets that opportunity, taking it.
Yeah, look, he will be involved tomorrow. He's travelling with us. He will be on the bench without giving too much away. There's no way I'd have any player on the bench if I didn't feel they could fulfil the needs of the team or warrant a position. If that was the case, I'd put my kids on the bench, and I keep telling them that they're not allowed to play for Lincoln because they're not good enough. So anybody who's involved with us warrants their position, and I'd have no hesitation. If somebody got injured tomorrow after a minute and position wise it fitted Dylan, he'd come on the pitch straight away.
Just looking at Fleetwood, they've had a similar-ish sort of season to yourself, and obviously the manager's had a not quite the same number of games, but pretty much the same number of games in charge.
Yeah, somebody I followed closely actually, and I got asked this a while ago. You tend to follow the people like himself and Wade, and obviously Kieran's doing an amazing job at Ipswich and with a couple of other managers without going through the whole league. So he's somebody I followed closely. Obviously had an outstanding career as a player, and I think he's done brilliant at Fleetwood. I think they've been really good, and the one thing that has stood out to me, what you said, is our seasons have been quite similar. Tough to beat, not lost many games, don't score loads of goals, don't concede many goals. They've also been strong at home as well, so lots of similarities.
I've left this to last because we probably won't have to talk about it, but suspensions, you've got obviously now Pordy suspended, but Ethan, what's the situation with him? He came off last week. Is he likely to be available, or is he be out for a while?
No, he won't be available tomorrow, but he should be back with us at some point during the next week. And obviously Pordy, as we know, is not available, which is disappointing news for me and for the team, because he's been outstanding for us this year. I think the week off will do him good, believe it or not. I mean, when I say a week off, he's been training with us all week, but he'll obviously have a rest at the weekend and that, and I think that will do him good, but we'd rather he was with us than without us. And
Regan obviously missed the last game at home. Is he back in the squad?
Regan has been training, yes.
Big smile. I should say it's the radio, you're smiling.
Well, look, we want... I'm like that with any players. We've been unlucky. We've got TJ out, Joe out. Obviously, as you mentioned, Pordy. There's not been many times this year where we've had to have conversations with players about not being involved because we've got a full squad. That's absolutely nobody's fault. So I've always got a smile when I've got players back, and that's why I'm smiling. And
just like, I mean, as you mentioned with Regan and Pordy, I mean, they weren't that close to doing the whole season, were they? Which is incredible in this day and age, the amount of not just the games, the travelling, the training, to be ever present for you as a manager, as a head coach. It's vital, isn't it? Because you know there will be players that you can only get 20 games out of a season.
100%, especially when you look at the league now. I went to Barnsley, Sheffield Wednesday the other day, and I thought Michael's team were outstanding on the night. Played really well, front foot, and yet bang on 60 minutes. I don't bet, but if I did, I would have put a bet on substitutes coming off, and he brings off Norwood, who scored a great goal and has been a real problem. But if you look at them, Bolton, Ipswich, amongst another, bang on X amount of minutes, 2 off, 2 on, then 3 on. So that's the modern day game. So it helps when you've got that. You're in that position to do that. So seeing players playing every minute of every game is a thing of the past with modern football. So for them to do that and what they've achieved and the consistency they've played at, they're a huge credit to themselves.